of emptiness associated with the inner considerations of the four foundations of mindfulness is called inner emptiness. The concentration of emptiness associated with the outer considerations of the four foundations of mindfulness is called outer emptiness. The concentration of emptiness associated with inner and outer considerations of the four foundations of mindfulness is called inner and outer emptiness. 5. The three emptinesses result from concentration. Question. Are the emptinesses in question empty by the power of concentration, or are they empty in themselves? Answer. They are empty by the power of concentration, as is said in a sutra. The three concentrations or the three doors to deliverance are emptiness, signlessness and wishlessness. The concentration of emptiness concerns the body, the sensations, the mind, and dharmas, and since no self or mine is found therein, it is called the concentration of emptiness. 6. Relationships of the four general characteristics of conditioned dharmas and the four viewpoints of the foundations of mindfulness. Question. The four foundations of mindfulness should all consider empty dharmas as being impermanent, painful, empty, and without self. Why then do they consider respectively the body as impure, the sensations as suffering, the mind as impermanent, and the dharmas as empty of self? Answer. All consider the four things as impermanent, suffering, empty, and without self. However, in regard to the body, beings cling especially to the mistake of taking what is impure to be pure. In regard to the sensations, they cling especially to the mistake of taking what is suffering to be happy. In regard to the mind, they cling especially to the mistake of taking what is impermanent to be permanent, and in regard to dharmas, they cling especially to the mistake of taking what is not a self to be a self. This is why, in the course of the four foundations of mindfulness, the yogin considers the body as impure, the sensations as painful, the mind as impermanent, and the dharmas as being deprived of self. Furthermore, in regard to inner emptiness and outer emptiness, there is no dharma that is definitively inner or definitively outer, for, depending on one another as mutual cause, they can be said to be sometimes inner and sometimes outer. In fact, what my neighbor considers as outer, I consider to be inner, and what I hold to be outer, my neighbor considers to be inner. It depends on the subject and not on the object that the inner dharma is inner, and it depends on the subject and not on the object that the outer dharma is outer. Thus for a given individual, his own house is inner, but the house of another is outer. For the yogin who is considering inner and outer dharmas, they have no fixed nature. Therefore they are empty. Finally, inner and outer dharmas have no intrinsic nature. Why? Because they arise from an assemblage of causes and conditions. These dharmas are not found in the assembled causes and conditions, and, since they do not exist in their causes and conditions, they are not found elsewhere either. The causes and conditions of inner and outer dharmas do not exist either. Thus as the cause and the effect are absent, inner and outer dharmas are empty. V2. The problem of the whole and the part. Question. From all evidence inner and outer dharmas exist. Why do you say that they do not exist? Thus, when the hands, feet, etc. come together, there is birth of the body-dharma. It is an inner dharma. When the beams, walls, etc. are brought together, there is the arising of the house dharma. It is an outer dharma. Although the body-dharma has a different name than its parts, it is not different from the foot, etc. Why? Because in the absence of the foot, etc., the body would not exist. It is the same for the house. Answer. If the foot were no different than the body, the head would be the foot, since, in your hypothesis, the foot is not different from the body. But if the head were the foot, that is perfectly ridiculous. Question. If the foot were not different from than the body, your objection would be valid. But in the present case, it is necessary that the foot, etc., be brought together in order that there be the arising of the dharma called body. although the body is different from the foot, etc. It must depend on the foot in order to subsist. In the same way, the threads must be brought together in order to produce a cloth. This cloth depends on the threads to exist. Answer. Two things. First, either this body-dharma occurs at the same time in all its parts, the foot, etc. or else it occurs separately. A. If the body occurs at once in all its parts, the foot would be also in the head. Why? Because by the hypothesis the body-dharma occurs in all the parts at once. B. If the body existed separately, it would not be different from the other parts, foot, etc. in the sense that it would cease being a whole to become a part. Furthermore, the body, as a whole, is a single thing, whereas its causes, as parts, are many. But singularity is not plurality, and plurality is not singularity. Finally, to claim that a special dharma called body exists outside of its parts is to be in contradiction with the whole world. Thus one cannot say that the body is identical with its parts or that it is different from its parts. This is why there is no body, and, the body not existing, the foot, etc. does not exist either. That is what should be understood by inner emptiness. Outer dharmas, houses, etc. also are empty in the same way. That is what is meant by outer emptiness. Question. Destroying the body, the house, etc. is to destroy singularity and multiplicity. Destroying singularity and multiplicity is the work of the heretical sutras. In Buddhist sutras, inner and outer dharmas really exist, namely, the 6 inner organs and the 6 outer objects. Why do you say they do not exist? Answer. These inner and outer dharmas are assemblages existing metaphorically as simple names, as was the case for the body or the house. 6.2. Emptiness according to the 2 vehicles. Furthermore, in brief, there are 2 kinds of emptiness: the emptiness of beings and the emptiness of dharmas. For the disciples of the Hinayana lesser vehicle who are of weak faculties, the emptiness of beings is taught so that, freed from notions of me and mine, they do not become attached to any others. For the disciples of the Mahayana greater vehicle who are of keen faculties, the emptiness of dharmas is taught, and immediately they know that samsara is eternally empty and the same as nirvana. The Sravakas and their scholars teach inner emptiness. In inner dharmas there is neither me nor mine, neither eternal entity nor agent, neither a knower nor an experiencer. This is called inner emptiness, and it is the same for outer emptiness. However, they do not teach that inner and outer dharmas are empty of their respective characteristics. The Mahayanists, on the other hand, say that, in inner dharmas, the nature of inner dharma is absent, and that in outer dharmas the nature of outer dharma is absent. This is what is said in the Prajnaparamita. Form is empty of the nature of form. Feeling, concept, volition, and consciousness are empty of the nature of feeling, concept, volition and consciousness. The eye is empty of the nature of eye, the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind organ are